Hello, hello. Welcome to In the Studio, episode 70. So today we'll be talking about drum fills again. In a few episodes back, I showed you how to pull MIDI information from drum grooves in Contact and kind of use that as a starting point and inspiration for your own programming. But in today's video, I'm going to show you how to use FPC in FL Studio here to make your own drum fills or like incidental hits from scratch. So let's get right to it. I have this project pulled up here. This is what we'll be using for our reference groove. Okay, there it is. So I already have FPC pulled open here. So what I'm going to do is just pick out, and I've just cleared it because usually by default, this is how it's loaded. It's loaded with a kit already, which you could use those samples. There's nothing wrong with them. But when I tend to do this, I like to, pick out my own samples that work really well with my track. So I would just go ahead and do this, go to presets and go to empty. And I'm just going to grab a couple random samples here. Just I don't want to spend 10 minutes picking out the perfect sample, so just to give you kind of an idea of how I would go about it. So I'm just going to grab a clap here, throw it on this pad, and this one here. Sure. So what I'm going to do here first is actually modify the envelope so it doesn't bleed over so much. So I'm just going to enable this and just pull this attack in, and I'll maybe leave a little bit of a release, and we'll do the same for this one here. I'll activate that just so you don't have it, kind of cuts it a little bit short so you don't have a massive release on the samples. Now what I actually like to do, I mean, you could just program this in the piano roll, which I might show you here in a second, but what I tend to do is actually link these to my drum pads on my keyboard, or if you don't have a drum pad, you can link it to your actual MIDI keyboard, these individual hits. So it's super easy to do this. I have this clap 27 selected here, so just go up to this MIDI note here and click on where it has the note information and go to learn, and then hit whatever you want to link it to. So I'm going to go to one of my pads here, and then you're linked up to that pad for that sample. And I'll do the I'll link up this one here. Let's hop over to clap 37, click on the MIDI note here, go to learn. Now I have them linked to my drum pads, and if you don't have drum pads, you can link it to your keys on your keyboard so you can jam around with it. And I'm just going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here and stress how important it is to have a MIDI keyboard at your disposal. It makes a massive difference for things like this. You could actually, play your chords in, play around with your drum hits, play around with your fills, and like I mentioned in a few episodes back, to record your automation in live. Next to your computer, your DAW, your audio interface, your speakers, your MIDI keyboard is the next essential thing in your production, arsenal. It made a massive difference when I got mine many, many moons ago. And I can't stress enough how important it is. If you don't have one, it'll really change the way you make music for the better. It's so hard to, you can get decent results drawing things in, but it's so hard to capture the human feeling, of the inconsistencies of the timings and the velocities that makes music interesting by just drawing it in. So I actually made a big list of all my equipment in the description below. I use the MPK 249. Maybe I'll just tip this down a little bit. This guy here, boop, drum pads, keys, and whatnot. And this one is a little bit more spendy as far as MIDI keyboards go, but it's so amazing. I love this keyboard to death. If you want to check that out, it's in the description below. I have it linked up. But you can get a MIDI keyboard for cheap, like $30. And if you don't have one, go scoop one up. Okay, that's my tangent on MIDI keyboards for today. So I have both these mapped to my drum pads here. So what I probably would do here in this case is just maybe we'll record a little snip here and just mess around with it, and then you can further edit it. So go up to record, notes and automation, boom. I mean, that was not very good, but I mean, you could just record and then take out little bits and pieces that you actually like. You can use obviously more samples here. I'm just keeping this as a basic kind of how to go about it. So you could do it that way, just record it in, and then if you want, you can go back into the MIDI clip and edit it a little bit further if you find a little pass that you like, or you can go ahead and make some adjustments there. Actually going to go ahead and just delete this though. Okay, and so maybe you don't want to record it in. Maybe you just want a simple little short little roll at the end of a phrase. You can just come in here. It's got both my claps here labeled, so maybe I just want like a little 16th roll here at the end. Let's come over here and just loop this last 2 bars. You know, just something simple like that. Then in that case, you don't really need to, you know, maybe jam it out if you're doing just a really simple hit. But if you're doing, you know, it's worth kind of jamming around for a while, having fun on your, you know, on your gear. But in an instance like this, maybe you don't really need to. You just want to get right to the point. So we could change it some velocities here, like that. Maybe we could do a little pan action. So let's go to note pan and maybe start on the left and then move up to the right. Something like that. You could go a little further. You could add a little like fine pitch here. Maybe pitch these down a little bit and then up as it sweeps across from left to right. Something like that. And you could also, if you know, depending on how many samples you want to use, you could use some different samples here. Put that. Just gives you a lot of options. Using FPC, you can, you know, use the kits that are already built in. You can use your own samples, which is what I like to do. You know, I do this method here if I just want something really simple, just like a little 1-2 hit, or just like a little simple roll. Or sometimes I like to jam around for a while and see what, you know, I can come up with. And I'll usually put, you know, grab like 4, 5, 6 samples that I'm really liking and just kind of jam around with it for a while and do it that way. So just a few different ways to create effective incidental hits, little drum fills, little drum rolls, using FPC and your MIDI keyboard. So that is the video for today. Hopefully you found it useful. As always, leave me a comment or question. I do love to hear from you. And if you want me to give you feedback on your projects, email me at flprojectfeedback@gmail.com. Include any questions you might have. And I'll take a look at your project, do a little video on it, and give you my thoughts. If that's something you want to do, then hit me up. But until next time, take care. I'll see you soon. Bye. Bye.